We are live. We are live. I am in the building. How's everybody doing today? Hope you are well. We got our friend Urban Southern Cookie in the building. Oh, with a wrench next to her name, y'all. She has the power in the chat. We got a few mods that we have knighted in the chat. We got some more mods coming. Y'all stay tuned. Appreciate the support of everyone being involved. I won't be before you long today. We here in the midday, but I'm coming back this evening and we'll have an extended conversation about music. Catherine is here. Miss V. Laura is here. She says she survived the eclipse. I was just going to ask that because I'm not paying attention to it personally. And matter of fact, out here where I am in California, they said we were only going to get 50% anyway. I guess it's the East Coast thing where you can get the full view of what's going on with it. CC Love's here. Thank you for being here. It's a quick one, y'all. What y'all got going on this afternoon? Is everybody at work or y'all staring up in the sky with your funny looking shades on at the eclipse? Are y'all caught up in that? Is anyone interested? Miss V. Laura says she's Midwest. She probably got a better view than I got here. But I figured I'd leave the visuals to the professionals. And I'll probably take a look at images after the fact and say, oh, wow, that was awesome. Eve said, eclipse when? It's been all over the news, Eve. I can't turn on my TV or my radio without hearing somebody talking about it. CC Love says she got a good view in H-Town. That's good stuff. I mean, I had an option to take an astronomy class when I was in college. And I was so disinterested that I chose to take geology instead. So that's my relationship with astronomy. Just never been interested in it. But you know what? I got a 3-year-old grandson who can name all of his planets. I was just kicking it with him yesterday, and he's telling me about all these different planets, and he has the planet stickers, and he's just enamored with space. I said, wow, to be so young and free mentally. Y'all, here we are with a couple stories that I've discovered here today on this here internet that WorldStar put out. And y'all know I talk about the music industry a lot on these live streams because it's where I come from. It's where my background is. It's where my experience is for the last 20 years. I can relate to these artists, to these musicians, to this industry, to these circumstances. And you see, I titled this live, You Can't Win Playing Their Music Game. Well, there's a reason for that. Because it's their game. The reason we can't win in their game is because it's their game. And unfortunately, for many of us, many of those in our community, many of those in our culture, we sign up to lose when we sign up to play. Y'all, we lose from the start. And what we try to do on this channel, what we try to do when we speak to the youth is try to change their mindset, try to inform them and try to get to see things from a different perspective so they're not so enamored with situations that can get them caught up and things that they can't get out of. Y'all, anybody been following this P. Diddy story? Do y'all see how messy and ugly this is? This is all based on music industry shenanigans. People holding leverage over other people. People purposely putting folks in embarrassing situations where they can have something to hold on your head so you can be beholden to them. That's how they wield power in the game. It's nothing new. But as time evolves, as society evolves, they find new ways to implement their wicked machinations in this industry. And here we are with this video. Yeah, Eve, we're going to get to that. Selling their souls. Yeah. We've referenced that in the past. And J. Cole kind of spoke on that in his apology. And we're going to talk about it in just a second. Cookie says the Lord is exposing the evil. Absolutely. The veil is being removed and these folks are being exposed. But I hope that a lot of our young people don't see it as them being exposed for new stuff. like this is just occurring. No, this stuff has been happening for generations in the game. That's why they call the music business, they say it's about drugs, sex, rock and roll. Yeah, it's been that way for a very long time. But here we have this video of Fat Joe expressing himself about major labels and his relationship to major labels, and saying that these are just Ponzi schemes set up to take advantage of artists. And in a way they are, but like I said, these artists sign up for this. And he's had a moment of clarity in his old age. I believe Fat Joe is older than me, and I've never been a fan of his music. However, I see this time and time again, and it's detrimental to our young people. And it is an obstacle that folks out here with a voice like mine, who are trying to speak life into these young folks, we got to get over voices like this, actors like this, people who participate in these games, people who have probably showed up at some P. Diddy parties, to be honest. But they're caught up in this industry themselves. They enjoy the false fruits of the game. I call it being caught in the fog in their youth. But someday they get, if they survive the game and they get to Fat Joe's age, at some point the smoke clears, y'all. And they get to looking back. You know, hindsight is 2020. They get to looking back on their career and they say, hey, I think my manager robbed me. Hey, I think my accountant pencil whipped me. Hey, I think that contract I signed was unfair. I think the record label took advantage of me. Let's check out what Fat Joe is saying in this video, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, y'all.
You know, it's crazy. They got my net worth at $4 million when I go in.
I'm sorry, y'all. Let me give a disclaimer. There is some salty language in both of these videos. If you don't like salty language, please do not listen to this. It is not my intent to offend. It is only my intent to inform and to educate in this content. If you don't like salty language, if it offends you, please turn this video off. Thank you so much.
On there and shit, I got to watch $4 million. They got me fucked up, but it's cool. Let's fly under the radar. But Forbes said, Joe, come through. Let's talk about business. Well, in the business, they asked me independent or major. And I said the major labels, the major record labels are a Ponzi scheme. What does that mean, Joe? It means that when you, as smart as me, and you've been around long enough as me, you realize that it's just like a bank. Most of the time, they take a kid, they grew up in the projects, baby, that's talented. If you look at all of us, I think the only guy who had a good upbringing that got signed was Chance the Rapper. He's probably the only guy who they finagled his way in the system. But other than that, everybody was broke. Everybody's a project baby, right? Looking for their way up. And so here you go. They give you money up to make your album or whatever. They charge you, though they make the profit of the records, they charge you whatever they spend on the video. It ain't like we 50-50 partners. They pay half of the video, we pay half of it. Look, at the end of the day, the math, you could bring a scientist who wins the Nobel Peace Prize to do the... You know, it's crazy. They got my net worth at $4 million when I go in there and shit. I got to watch $4 million.
All right, so you hear his rant. That's not the full video. They cut it off for the Instagram timing, but you get the gist of what he's saying. And I agree with Eve in the chat. She said Fat Joe is old and washed up and now he comes to his senses. I agree with that, but that's part of the problem. Because you see, when Fat Joe was popular, Jerry G, we see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. When Fat Joe was younger and artists like Fat Joe was younger, they weren't talking like this, y'all. When they have the ear of the culture and people are paying attention to them, when they're famous, when they're on tours, when they're traveling around the world. Eve says she hears what I'm talking about. Thank you. When you have an opportunity to speak to the young because they're paying attention to you, you so lost in the sauce yourself. You never say these types of things. And then when you get this age that Fat Joe is now, here's the problem. Erica Carden said, big pun? No, close. But here's the problem. Now you old and the young people don't even know you. The next generation don't even know who you are. They're not familiar with your music. You're not being pumped into their earbuds. They don't know your career. And because they don't know you like that, your words have less meaning even when you come out and tell the truth. When you're on that pinnacle of success, when you are the most famous, when you are the most popular and you're on the cover of magazines and you're on the video shows, they see you everywhere, you never tell the truth. It's only when that day is over that you start talking like something. Well, how are we to look at you? Is that not hypocritical, y'all? When you down in the swamp and you're enjoying the fruits of the industry, as shallow as that may be, as artificial as it may be, you seem to be having a good time. And you depicting yourself having a good time is encouraging more young people to want to get involved. You're attracting them to it. Even though it's fake. You're not telling nobody it's fake. You're not telling nobody it's a sham. Cookie says he's 53 years old and irrelevant. You're not telling the truth till you 53? Bro, you older than me. I'm not even in the 50 club yet. And you wait till you get 50 plus to tell the truth? Why you wait so long? I have to ask. I'm always curious because we always see this happen. And then you come out in your 50s. And ain't nothing wrong with being 50, y'all. That's not old to me. But understand, it's old to somebody. It's old to these kids. I believe they start calling me OG when I was round about 35 or so. They look at me, OG. I can't blame them. I probably felt the same way when I was young and a teenager. I probably felt like 30 was super old. But you waited until you no longer have their attention, which makes me think that maybe this is you clamoring for attention, speaking out on here, wanting smoke now from labels that you were beholden to. The point of what he's saying, y'all, is that he signed a deal with a major label back in the day, and we know how old his music is, but he's saying after 2 million records sold, that's double platinum. 2 million records sold back when you could sell physical records. He's saying to this day, he still hasn't recouped. My God. And Cookie says his money funny, man. That's why he talking about money. I think you're right. He's saying he still hasn't recouped after 2 million records sold. I think that is notable. That is noteworthy. That is remarkable. We got to talk about that just a little bit. I'm not going to hold y'all forever here, but it's notable for the young people. And I know we ain't got that many young people in the chat, but I'm telling y'all because I know you got some young people in your life. And when you get this information, you can share that to them. Just spread the truth. That's what I wish Fat Joe would have done back in the day. Spread the truth. Because how can we look at you as an honest broker when you participated in all this as if it was all cool? And then so much later, then you want to speak on some things. Look, y'all, that word recouped is a word I throw around when I talk to young people because I know they've, in many cases, not heard of it before. But if you're going to deal in this industry, that's something you need to understand. If you don't, even if you can't spell it, you need to understand the concept of it. It means that everything they give you, they're getting back off the top. A lot of people don't understand how that works. That means every expenditure. And when I say every, oh my goodness, you should see some of these contracts. I mean, every penny that they spend on you is taken back off the top. So if they give you a production budget and you say, hey, I want to work with this artist, can I get a feature? Well, that artist feature is $50,000 for 16 bars. You really want that expenditure on your books? Well, I want to work with this producer. Well, that producer has a long track record of hits and charges $200,000 for a single track. You really want that expenditure on your books? And you say, hey, I want to look like a baller in my music video, so I need to drive this car. I need to shoot at this mansion. Hey, let's fly my whole crew out to Miami so we can get some good footage out there. Okay. Now you got logistics for your whole team to fly out. You got a camera crew from LA that might fly out to Miami to shoot your video. All of these expenditures piling up, even down to craft services, y'all. You paying for the food. You think the label paying for that? No, it all comes back to the artist. Everything they spend on you is recoupable. And this man is telling you to the extent that he has sold 2 million records. And after 2 million records, he still owes the label, y'all. He's still in the red. Who wants to be a part of this game? This is crazy. Kofi 19 said he's talking money now because gearing up to defend oneself against Diddy tapes is very expensive. Yeah, we don't know what's in those tapes now, do we? Seems like a lot of people are nervous. A lot of other people are quiet. So it's yet to be seen. Cookie says the movie The Five Heartbeats somewhat exposed how record companies charge you for everything. They charge you for everything. They keep good records. They got good accounting firms. They know down to the penny what you owe. So when we see all of these artists saying this person owes me this, that person owes me that, no, it's never that. A lot of times, and I relate this to the situation where Mace came out at one point and he was angry at Diddy and saying Diddy owed him money. And Diddy came out and was like, I don't owe him nothing. Well, knowing how the paperwork works, I tend to side with a Diddy in that situation because I've seen some of these contracts and some of them are written so, I almost said unfairly, but I can't say that word because your rights are yours until you give them away. And if you never sign it, then you're free and clear. And I always encourage independence. Y'all make your song, especially in a day and age like this, make your song in your bedroom, mix it, master it at the house, upload it to a digital distributor, and you market it, shoot a video in your bedroom. Some of that drill music in Chicago, they were they were shooting music videos in filthy apartments. Nobody cared. Market it the best way you can. Build your audience, build your community, one fan, one supporter at a time. Sell them songs $1 at a time wherever you can and be able to sleep at night knowing that you haven't sold your soul. I believe it was Eve who said that. You haven't sold your soul to the game. It's the best route because I've seen some pencil whip contracts that were so dastardly, that were so rotten. Not only do you go in and you sign a contract that only gives you 10%, my God, 10% of your own creation. And that's for people who actually do the work themselves and can say, well, I wrote the song, I did the music, I produced it, I can bring you a finished product. So then you leapfrog over the production budget. The label doesn't have to give you that because you are just so talented that you can write your own stuff, produce your own stuff, and bring a finished product to the label. A lot of artists can't do that. Dare I say, most artists. So here you are in a crazy situation where you are able to produce music, but you sign a contract that only gives you 10% of that which you produce. They're going to market it, they're going to distribute it, they're going to promote it, they're going to do all the things of the things. to help you sell these records that you created, but only give you 10%. And some of the worst contracts I've seen, y'all, and just makes you shake your head when you do the math of this stuff and you say, okay, you can start out this contract $1 million in debt with all the money that they're putting into your album, all of the fees and things that you have to pay for that are caught up in these recoupables. Everything is recoupable. Don't forget that. But I've seen a contract where all those recoupables, this is pencil whipping, y'all. All of those recoupables are to be recouped from your 10%, not off the top. Now it's as fair as you gonna probably get is for somebody to expend some money on you and say, hey, I need to make my money back off the top. Then we'll split the pie afterwards. But as an investor, this is my insurance policy. I need to make sure that I get my get back off the very top. All the revenue that comes in, I'm getting mine first, then we'll divvy it up. Yo, there are people in this game who say, no, I can make millions upon millions of dollars off the top. But this recoupable amount is coming out of your 10%, which means that your 10% has to equal that $1 million budget and go surpass that in order for you to see any money. That's what I call pencil whipping. That's why a group so popular like a TLC could sell 15 million records and file bankruptcy and say, we ain't got nothing. But am I wrong for feeling the way I feel about a Fat Joe who has sat in this game for decades and seen what was going on and said nothing to the people until he got to the point where he was no longer popular? Or does that make Fat Joe a good guy because he's now coming out? What about while you were in it? What about while you experienced it? What about while you were seeing it? Cookie says it's slavery. I agree. At best, it's sharecropping at its best. You can't hope for anything more than that. And I know y'all say, well, some artists make it, and some artists do this, and some artists drive this, and some artists have this. Those are the Michael Jordans of the game. Those are the LeBron Jameses of the game. Those are the outliers. For every one that you see that has something that you think made it, millions others didn't. And even some of those who you think have it all are some of the most unhappy people in the world. That's why you see so many people that we think are successful with crazy drug habits, crazy alcohol problems. These people are not happy. Negan says Satan was the angel of music. Yes. Yes. And we know that Satan controls this music industry. That's why we point out stories like Fat Joe. All right, Joe, we heard you. We understand what you have to say. We take the lesson that we can from what you're talking about, but we kind of give you a side eye because you in the 50 club, you talking to people my age. We're not in the game like that. We're trying to teach other people not to be in the game like that. I agree, Cookie. Now, that's the part I didn't say. He could not speak. He signed an NDA at some point. Well, yeah, you can't disparage the people that you are in privity with. However, you can give a good word. You can give a good word. And I think this next story is kind of indicative of somebody who tried to give a good word, somebody who may have been caught up in the game. Yeah, he's been out the way for a while, but it's a difference between being out the way and being out the game. He's been respected as a quality artist. If you follow rap and hip hop, you know who he is. And World Star dropped another clip of J. Cole. J. Cole came out, and this is a controversy that's been breaking the internet for the last couple days. J. Cole comes out and drops a diss track in response to Kendrick Lamar. And everybody knows about rap beef since back in the day. Okay, it's entertaining. You see who can be the most creative lyrically going back and forth. I think at this point, these brothers are beyond the bang bang street stuff. I think this was purely lyrical. We've seen some rap beefs turn ugly in the past. We've seen some rap beefs turn tragic in the past. We've all been there. We've lived through it. We've seen it. And it's given a black eye to the culture. But in this circumstance, in his response to Kendrick, he cooked him, y'all. I don't know how else to put. I can't put it no other way. He cooked Kendrick, rotisseried him lyrically. But he came out because, and you understand, y'all, they don't release these songs right after they're recorded. This is stuff that's been going on for a minute. This song was recorded. Now they just now dropping it. Now you're seeing the effects on the world now that the thing has been released. He's saying his spirit was troubled for the last couple days since the song dropped. And it's been all over the internet. It's been the talk of the town, the talk of the music industry. Yet, this young brother is saying, my spirit has been troubled. That's not who I am as a person. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I've been for the last 10 years. That's why y'all ain't seen me. Because I fell back. I stayed out the way. Somehow, some way, somebody got me up and in front of a microphone to roast this dude that I'm really not beefing with in that way. We really not enemies, to be honest. But sometimes we do it for the gram. Sometimes we do it for the game. Sometimes we do it for the fame. And some people, like a J. Cole, don't feel like the fame is quite worth it. Let's check out this apology, y'all, and see what J. Cole had to say.
Dreamville, y'all love Kendrick Lamar, correct? As do I. So I just want to come up here and be like, publicly be like, bruh, that was the lamest, like, goofiest shit. And I say all that to say, it made me feel like 10 years ago when I was moving incorrectly. And I pray that God align me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, all good. Like, it's love. And I pray that, I pray that y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep, and then I can get back to my true path. Cause I ain't gonna lie to y'all, the past 2 days felt terrible. Like, it let me know how good I've been sleeping for the past 10 years. So all of that to say, man, I wanna now perform the song that's a reminder to me of getting back on the right path and getting in tune with God. And the name of the song is called.
Y'all, what do you think about that? Had y'all heard that prior to this? Had y'all heard his apology for the dude he roasted on the track? I don't know that I've ever heard anything like this in a rap beef in the history of forever. The dude who many are saying, and in my opinion, would have won the beef had we let it lie. Kofi says, I cringe whenever I hear J. Cole speak. This is a college educated man. Well, yeah, he is, from what I understand. And you know what? I'm a college educated man and I speak in Ebonics all the time. Sometimes just naturally it just comes out. That's why I prefer writing more than speaking. That's why I'm awkward sometimes on the internet. Because when I have a chance to sit down and write, and I love to write, y'all. When I have a chance to sit down and write, I make sure that I say exactly what I want to say. It is edited. I've gone over it several times and those words cut. Whatever I'm trying to get across, it is clear as day. Don't always work out that way when you're speaking, especially on the fly. So I'm not going to shoot him down for being college educated and you not really liking his delivery. I get it. I get it. The N word. If y'all don't like that, I apologize. I tried to give a disclaimer before playing the video. The cuss words, I get it. But did you get the positive message that he was trying to convey? Did anybody hear that? He's saying he had a good relationship with God and he was on a good path. He was content with his life. He was sleeping at night. For the last 10 years, he felt content. And something happened. Somebody brought him out to do their dirty work. He's saying, I ain't even beefing with this man. And somebody got me up to do a diss track. Why? Because they know I'm a talented lyricist. So when he put pen to paper, it cut like a knife. Like, like I just explained, like I write. You make sure when you put that pen to paper, it cuts. And boy, when he stepped behind that microphone and delivered those lyrics, it cut. And when it dropped, and when it sent waves through the industry, his spirit was troubled, y'all. He's saying it affected his relationship with God. Now, we know, if you follow this industry, you know that when they talk about God in this game, it ain't always the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's not the God that we serve necessarily. So we can't attribute that to him just based on what he's saying. And we haven't seen him for a while, so we don't know how he's been acting. Don't know that I've seen him at any Diddy parties. Have y'all seen pictures of J. Cole at Diddy parties? But he references his relationship with God. He references his spirituality. Eve is saying, I'm confused because I didn't feel God at all, but I understood. And that's an interesting point that you make there, Eve, because we don't all relate to God in the same way. We don't. That's why there's so many churches. That's why there's so many denominations. Well, which one is the right one? Which one is the right path? You got a Baptist church on this corner. You got a Kojic church on this corner. You got a Presbyterian church on this corner. You got a Catholic church on that corner. We don't all relate to God the same. Kofi says Bishop Wooden threw a shot at his festival this past Sunday. That's just like Bishop Wooden, ain't it? I love Bishop Wooden because he always got his ear to the street. And he takes a lot of heat for it. He gets a lot of blowback for talking about current events. But I've covered him a lot on this channel. One of my favorite bishops. I hope he makes it to the general board. They told me he's running. I hope he makes it. Because we need bishops in the Kojic church that stand for something. We're missing that currently, if I may say so myself. So, good on Bishop Wooden. I'm going to go check out that video, Kofi. Thank you for putting that out there. I want to hear what he has to say. But y'all, this is the same industry. You got one example of a guy who waited till he was out the game to where the young folks wasn't paying attention to him anymore before he said anything. Then you have another example of someone who has been away from the game. And this is something that I think is noteworthy. Sometimes when people fall out the game and you don't hear from them, it's not always because they're washed up. Has anyone considered that? It's not always because you washed and you can't cut it no more. This man is saying he's been out the game doing other things, enjoying his life, and been at peace with his creator. And y'all brought him back from his peaceful place, from his serenity. You got him behind a microphone as a hitman. And boy, did he hit. He did the deed. What he was asked to do, what he was paid to do, whatever the circumstance was, he did it. And we have to assume that it was done weeks, even maybe months ago. But it wasn't until it dropped and he felt the impact of what it did to the game and said, wow, my name is on that. My image is on that. My voice is on that. That is attached to my spirit. All that negativity, all that vitriol, this beef is what everybody's talking about in the game. And now my name, after I've been sitting in the cut chilling, relaxing, doing my own thing, at peace with God. Y'all done dragged me out here and now I'm associated with some foolishness. And he got up in front of his audience at his festival and offered an apology. Why? I understand. How many of y'all, look, how many of y'all under the sound of my voice could have got up in front of, I don't know, what was that? 50,000 people or more in that arena? How many people could have got up there and done what he did? He offered an apology to everybody who heard that music. He offered an apology to the target of that music. Say, you know what, Kendrick? I'm going to stick my chin out, bro. Hit me with your best shot. I'm not even going to respond, because if that's how you feel about it, if that's how I made you feel, then I need you to get it off. Eve ain't having it, y'all. Eve says, stop taking your God-given gifts and talents to the devil's playground. I get it. Not going to disagree with that at all. I hear you. You can't come out of consecration with the Father, then jump on the mission of men. I agree with that. Kuda Kwashe, I hope I said that right. I agree. And it seems to me that he's a little conflicted. That's okay, though, because we see so many people in this game who can't even come to the point of confliction. Y'all, they just all in for the devil's game. And as I stated in the title, you can't win playing that game. Some of these artists are all in. And some people be on my head when I support Candace Owens. But Candace Owens has come out against some of these folks in this music game, you know, them folks. And she's had some issue with them folks. So we kind of know where she's coming at with her angle. But she talks about some of these artists that are most popular these days. I guess I can classify it that way. Some artists who seem to have jumped to the front of the line, it ain't even about talent. It's about finding the most degrading artists you can find, the most detrimental images that you can feed to our children. It's not even really about the music. The music is secondary, maybe even tertiary. It's about that ghetto image that they can promote in the hood. That image that makes our daughters want to dress like that. That image that makes our sons want to carry guns and sell drugs and do all manner of evil while pumping that music in their ear. It's the image first. The industry has shifted. And Candace kind of been bringing that out lately. It's an interesting shift that's going on in her career. She's been taking a lot of heat for it, but I support her in that effort because she's talking right. I support anybody that's talking right, because we never know how God is dealing with them on an individual level. And I understand J. Cole, even in this video, still dropping N-bombs, still cussing. We don't know what he do in his personal life. We don't know him like that. These are all images that are promoted through the media, y'all, and we understand how this media works. But how many people do you see out there even talking like this? I'm going to play it one more time and I'm going to let y'all get out of here. Let's go through this.
Dreamville, y'all love Kendrick Lamar, correct? As do I. So I just want to come up here and be like, publicly be like, bruh, that was the lamest, like, goofiest shit. And I say all that to say, it made me feel like 10 years ago when I was moving incorrectly. And I pray that God align me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, all good. Like, it's love. And I pray that, I pray that y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep, and then I can get back to my true path. Cause I ain't gonna lie to y'all, the past 2 days felt terrible. Like, it let me know how good I've been sleeping for the past 10 years. So all of that to say, man, I wanna now perform the song that's a reminder to me of getting back on the right path and getting in tune with God. And the name of the song is called.
There you have it, y'all. Cookie, I agree with you. Candace Owens has been on Sexy Red's head. But it's deserving, though. And I heard somebody trying to explain it away and say, y'all, they getting these folks out the hood. You got to understand where they come from. You got to understand the circumstance in which they live and try to survive. If somebody hadn't plucked them out the hood, put some gold chains on them and put them in front of 4K cameras and flashy cars. If someone hadn't done this for them, they'd be sitting in a roach-infested Section 8 apartment somewhere in somebody's hood in destitute, dire situations. I listened to that explanation. I heard it. Even now, as I repeat it, I hear it. I get it. I understand it. Because those people can then say, at least I ain't on that air mattress with a hole in it on my auntie's floor, on my cousin's floor, where I blow up the bed at night and wake up on the floor in the morning because the air mattress got a slow leak. At least I can eat at decent restaurants now that I didn't even have exposure to before, didn't even know food like this existed because we was on the dollar menu at McDonald's, and if it wasn't for the dollar menu, it wasn't no menu. I get it. Some folks living some hard lives. But I'll also get it when the industry surpasses great musical talent that I've known, that I've been affiliated with. And they pass over the real talent and go straight to the ghetto. And say, how raunchy are you willing to be? Oh, music? Don't worry about that. Oh, you ain't never rapped before? Don't worry about that. We'll have someone write your raps for you. Alexandra says, ratchet? Yes, absolutely. We'll have someone write your raps for you. We'll have someone make your music for you. We'll have someone do everything for you. All you got to do is go along to get along. And at the end of that ride that these young folks find themselves on, they're going to get right back to that word that Fat Joe was talking about. Them recoupables. And when the smoke clears, it'll be the end of the cycle. Eve said, you just described how they have so much and yet so unhappy in killing themselves in the end. Absolutely. Because money ain't everything, especially when the money ain't yours. When these things are being provided for you. And don't you dare say, hey, can I see the accounting? Can I have someone look at the books? I just like to know. I mean, you gave me this chain and you told me that it cost 100. But I saw a chain just like it the other day and it only cost 50. And I'm just wondering, are you overcharging me? Are you pencil whipping me on the books? Can I ever recoup with the way y'all got this set up? I mean, I was shooting a music video, so I wasn't behind the scenes. I wasn't in the green room. I didn't see what the crew was eating, but it says that they might have been served caviar. I never authorized you to feed the cameramen caviar. Are y'all really telling the truth? Because it seems like every time I speak up and question what y'all got going on behind the scenes, y'all pull up with a new Maybach in my driveway with a big bow on it. Well, thank you. That's a nice gesture, but I didn't ask you for the Maybach. I asked you to see the books because I want to know what that Maybach costs. I want to know if I paid a premium for it. I want to know if it's recoupable or if it's a gift. Because if it's recoupable, well, that's not a gift at all. I'm paying for it. And since I'm paying for it, I don't like the color. Man, you better not dare talk like that to them folk. you, you be out the game fast as you got in it. Cookie says there's another way out the hood. Prayer, earnest hard work, and stop embracing black culture agenda. I agree with that. I agree with that. I am a staunch advocate for hard work. But you know what, Cookie? What I found in my own life, having had a paper route at 10 years old, having had my first W-2 job at 13 years old at a sandwich shop called Togo's, making Subway sandwiches, not Subway, what are submarine sandwiches at Togo's for $3.65 an hour. Some of y'all don't know nothing about $3.65 an hour. That was my first job. Had to have a work permit even. I know all about hard work. That's all I've known. But these kids, a lot of them ain't built like that. A lot of them ain't built like us, Cookie. We came up in a different day. We got to acknowledge that these some crazy times we live in with some crazy kids out here walking the streets that are influenced by crazy things that only make them crazier. Yeah, they live in crazy situations. They go to crazy schools with purple-haired teachers. It's tough. And we have to pray for those who may find themselves in situations where they can't pray for themselves. They may not know God on that level. I listened to Jason Lee. Anybody heard of Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked? I believe that's the name of the show, Hollywood Unlocked. He did an interview on Cam Newton's podcast, and he was talking about his upbringing because he's up here in Northern California, where I'm at, y'all, right down the freeway in Stockton, California. And this brother talked about his upbringing and how at a very young age, around 7 years old, he would have to go and find ways to get food because he didn't know where his mother was, because his mother was somewhere on drugs, not caring about her kids at home. You talking about somebody who had to scrounge. Now, he told a story that sounded a little hyperbolic to me, but he said that he lived around the corner from two funeral homes, and at a young age, they would have funeral services. He said he would go into the funeral home and try to find jewelry or any items after the funeral that he could sell. They hitting licks at the funeral home, y'all, just to try to sell stuff on the street as a young kid so he could eat. Humble Strong says, why does Cam dress like a 1930s detective? Yeah, he has an interesting fashion sense, does he not? It's interesting to say the least. And especially knowing that Cam is what, 6'5", 6'6". The man is a giant with an interesting fashion sense. That's all we can say. Oh, Cookie beat me out. She said her first job at 15 paid $335. So, Cookie, I was balling compared to you. I had 365. I could have pulled up on you, Cookie. She said, I thought I was rich. So did I. Could buy my own school clothes. What? Those were the days. And these are these days in which, when I talk to these kids, y'all, sometimes you got to shake your head. Sometimes you just got to reach out and hug them because you know they need it. But I'm grateful that God has put me in a position to gain the trust of some of the youth. Some of them log on here and they hear me talk. We throw musical events and we bring them in, and it ain't long. Yeah, they get into the music. It ain't long before I'm in their ear talking about life, talking about faith, talking about school, talking about getting themselves together. They eyes glaze over. They don't want to hear it. They like, man, just let me play. I'm here to play. But I feel obligated to sow a seed because I know what they facing. And it's tough out here, y'all. It's not easy. They don't have the parenting we had back in the day. They don't have the circumstances we had back in the day. They certainly don't have the discipline. They're so easily led astray. But I'm thankful for y'all being in here. I got a mature audience, y'all. And we just trying to have a mature conversation so that we can come in here and share ideas and go back out and be helpers to these young folks. Is that all right? I hope y'all okay with that. Let's not just be an echo chamber. Let's just not talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's share this stuff to the young and try to get as many as we can on the right track. I understand we can't save everybody. Some of them, a lot of them don't want to be saved. A lot of them don't know what being saved even is. But we got to get out here and do that hard work that Cookie was talking about. Yes, it's about the hard work. And if we're going to instill values of hard work on them, we have to be an example of that. Give them something to see. They got to see it before they see it. Am I talking right, y'all? Eve says true, but it don't help to try. I get you. Sometimes they have to bump their head, says Alexandria. She ain't having it, y'all. She ain't picking up what I'm putting down. I understand the harsh realities of life. I went through them myself. Had to deal with them myself. A lot of stuff I had to figure out on my own. I ain't saying I did it without no help. That is not what I'm saying. But a lot of times those who could help me didn't because they knew that I was young and hard-headed and I needed to bump my head in order to learn the way that I did. And I sit here today in front of this microphone in this dark room. I sit here today thankful. I wasn't thankful at the time because it hurt. But I learned some lessons that have helped me through life and helped me get to this age in my life that at a certain point, I didn't know that I would make it to. So I understand some of these kids when they get out here and, they call you an OG at 30. Some of these kids don't think they're going to make it to 25 because they've seen so many of their comrades and their family members die so young. Y'all, I was going to do, and I might touch on this tonight. I may have to come back and touch on this. Are y'all familiar with PTSD? I got family members who served in the military. Anybody out there familiar with PTSD and the mental effects of war? If I can send a hardened soldier through boot camp like my son went through in the United States Army, I'm an Army dad, y'all. If I can send, Cookie says her husband suffers from PTSD from the Gulf War. My cousin was in the Gulf War, stone cold alcoholic. I ain't seen him in a while. He might be delivered now. I hope so. I pray to God that he found his way out, because he was raised in Sunday school next to me. We grew up together in church, and I know he knows the way. But something about that war. When he came home, he wasn't the same. We can talk about this later. I'm not going to belabor y'all. We've already been on here an hour. But if I can send someone to boot camp and train them on weaponry, tear them down as the military tends to do, just to build them back up and make a hardened soldier out of them, make them a killing machine. Y'all see, I brought my guy on the other night, Kevin Hayden, and he told you. What'd he say? The world's finest United States Marine Corps? He wouldn't even let me say Marines. World's finest. Put that in front of it. Put a handle on it, sir. And he ain't been in the military in what? 20 years? But if we can build them up that way and make them a hardened soldier and then send them off to war, something that they are prepared for, and they come back with PTSD. What about these kids who grow up in the hood and see their cousin who they grew up with playing in the yard, playing kickball in the street, and they see their cousin get their face ripped off by a bullet? Is there no PTSD, y'all? For someone who was not a soldier, someone who was not trained and prepared, someone who may not have been ready to see that in their life, because how could you be ready to see your sibling get gunned down in a drive-by? How could you be prepared to see your parent who has a drug problem overdose on the living room floor? How could you be prepared? You're not a soldier. You're not a warrior. You're a child. So if we can prepare a warrior, send them overseas, and they come back and say, my mind ain't right, my spirit ain't right, because I seen my comrade get his face blown off, and we can call that PTSD, then what do we call these kids running around Chicago who have seen this dozens of times? Kids who are untrained, not warriors, but been to a dozen funerals before they graduate high school. Is that not PTSD? I'm just asking a question. Because we put so much of this on these kids, y'all. And some of these kids are in bad shape. And some of these adults who have jurisdiction over them sit on a high horse, and they look down on these kids as if they pass judgment on them as if these kids are normal, and they're not normal. How can you be normal? How can you be normal when you come home from school and there's your mama sitting on a chair, passed out with a needle in her arm? How can you be normal when you're 14 years old and you say, I've seen it in interviews in inner city Chicago, I don't want to carry a gun, but I have to because everybody else got them. And I'm not going to be the only one out here without one. Wow. I don't know what that's directed to, Eve, to say they need to get over it. But how can you get over some of these things that you were never supposed to see? Some of y'all now, old as me. Some of y'all older than me. Couldn't take it if the person sitting next to you took a bullet. It would mess you up. As old as you are, as mature as you are, as much as you've seen in your life, as much as you've gone through, somebody next to you got shot in your presence. You would never get over it. You would never unsee it. So what can we expect with these young kids who are going through all of this trauma? Y'all, it's happening every day. And here we have people who sit in judgment. They call these kids pejorative names and talk down on them. These are people who sit in authority, sit in judgment over these kids. Well, some of these kids who experience these things, of course, you look at them and say, well, they acting crazy. Yes, because they are crazy. They parents crazy. They friends crazy. And they really ain't friends. They just people in the neighborhood that you know because you grow up around them. But ain't no friendship in that situation because everybody out struggling to try to make something happen. I don't know how I got here from rap. But it's something that's been on my mind, y'all. That issue of PTSD. When I think about the stuff that these kids go through, there's so much mental trauma. We cannot judge them as if they're quote unquote normal, whatever that is. There has to be a better way. That's why we have to have these conversations. That's why I say in every video, share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation. Because the more we talk it out, the more we're going to come up with solutions. I hear you, Cookie. And I'm just a firm believer that, if generational wealth can be passed down, so can generational poverty. That's all I got today, y'all. I might pick this one back up, though, because it's something that's been heavy on my mind that I've been thinking about. Eva says, I am a delivered crack addict, 25 years clean. I don't want to offend anybody's ears, but I'm a clap for that. 25 years. I hope that didn't hurt your ears. My children are battling with depression and PTSD. I lost my last child when she was 6 weeks old. Praise our Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ. Praying for you, Eva. 25 years clean is a great accomplishment. Stay strong, sis. Stay around here. This is a good community. It's good people in here that you can talk to and relate to. We try to solve problems in the community. We try to address issues from a Christian perspective. But I try to keep it real, y'all. I'm not a super saint. Whatever that means. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a pastor. I'm not an evangelist. I'm not a bishop. I'm just Gerald, out here trying to be a voice, crying in the wilderness, trying to make a positive difference in the community and amongst my people. That's all I want to do. I want to please my Heavenly Father. And them folks have given me a platform that I think is useful in trying to reach that end. Y'all, I thank you for spending some time with me today. I'm not going to continue to beat this horse. I ain't going to say it's dead, but I ain't going to try to beat it no more. I might come back tonight and continue it because it's still heavy on my brain. I'm stopping, but I ain't done. How about that? I appreciate y'all being here this afternoon. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. And I'm just going to commit to it. I'll be back on tonight and we'll find something to talk about, even if we continue this conversation. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you this evening. I'm coming back. How about that?